How's everybody doing? Y'all, I'm gonna cut this air down. I'm so hungry. I just left the gym. I'm starving. Let's eat first. I got all my notes out. I think I got everything set up. But I need to eat. How's everybody doing today? Oh, what was that? Oh, it's my vape. I'm well, but stressed per usual. So I went into Biscuitville to get me breakfast before I worked out, and they have a whole rack of sauces, so I grabbed me some. They don't care. I got, where's my sauce bag? I got mayonnaise tuna. I got 3 mayonnaises for my tuna, some jelly for my grits right now, mustard, honey, and hot sauce. Let's eat. I got grits. Oh, they're open. Whoo-hoo, I'm so glad I didn't get that butter everywhere. I'm glad that they left me room in here. I'm stirring the butter in. And then I'm going to put some jelly. So today we're going to be talking about how to be happier and how to clean up your toxic environment. A prophecy that is certain is death. Not to get all gloomy, but we're all going to die. And a lot of us wake up and start days without even thinking about how much of a miracle it is that we woke up that morning. By taking time to appreciate each and every single day, it can help you appreciate life more. By waking up and being thankful that you have another day at life, another chance to change, another moment to be better, another opportunity to grow. I feel like I just flung a piece somewhere. That was grease. Lovely. When I tell y'all I waited like 30 minutes on these grits, it's okay. They were busy. I need a napkin. Slowing down and making a conscious effort to be grateful for your life, slowing down and taking that time to appreciate the smaller things is really imperative to being happy. Enjoying the smaller things, being grateful for what you have, being grateful for who you are. Let me have like 2 bites of this and then we're gonna get started. This looks so good. It's bacon, grits, and jelly. I'm such a weirdo. I had leg and booty day in the gym. Heck yeah. I love me some grits. I am a grit girl in the South. That's so good. I made me an electrolyte. Oh, dang, you can't even see them. They come from Walmart. I actually love these. I got them on sale. They're typically like $6. I got them for $2. Gotta stay hydrated when you're working out. after too. Oh, this is so good. I'm trying to tear myself away from it. Yes. It's made with cornmeal, and they grind it up. It's very similar to porridge, but it's gritty. They call it grits because it's gritty. You can make them sweet. You can make them spicy. I like to make grit bowls. I take instant grits, add water. I'll put cheese on top, maybe some bacon, maybe a fried egg on top, slice of avocado, maybe some pickled cucumbers on the side, or even horseradish is really good with grit bowls. I like to dress them up. They're really good with cheese and like salt and pepper, or you can make them sweet and put sugar. They're really popular in the South. Oh, I don't know why I'm cleaning this. I'm not going to keep it. I'm filling up my sauce bag. Good. I was almost out of everything. I got grits in my teeth. Grits in my teeth. Sorry, I'm looking at all my notes. So, kind of imagining what I just said, talking about, you know, death is a prophecy that's going to be fulfilled. We can't escape death. Going back to that, imagining yourself sometimes, waking up, imagining yourself that you're a dying man. It's really scary to think about, but it'll help you appreciate life. Some Messiah guy said the way to appreciate your life is to envision that you're a dying man. Because if you were dying, hypothetically, what would you do your last day? You would go visit your family, you would spend time with your kids, you would hug your mother, you would kiss your kids. And imagining that your death, that you're going to die, that you're close to death, can make you appreciate your life. A lot of people don't do that. But also a lot of people are preoccupied with the stimuli going on around them. We live in a society where instant gratification is constantly at our fingertips, whether it's social media or porn or being gluttonous, fast food. You know, it's right at your fingertips. We're overstimulated as it is. But imagining that you're dying can bring you to a place where you appreciate the small things and the important things. So, I'm going to start this. Really, the only way to complete happiness is self-acceptance. When you start to crave alone time, that healing journey actually starts to start. That's where it begins. If you're anything like I was 10 years ago, I constantly had people around me, whether it was friends or family or just associates of my friends. It seems like when I look back on my 20s, I was constantly surrounded by people. Very few of them were good people. But it's only been since I got sober that I learned how to be comfortable being alone. That is imperative to happiness. You can't not be able on and be happy. It's just not going to work. You have to develop your sense of self. And by sense of self,
I'm not sure I understand.
No, thank you. Your sense of self is what you believe in, traits, your personal characteristics of your personality. It's who you are and what you stand for. That is your sense of self. Like me, I'm a Christian. I believe in traditional families. I love animals. I love the outdoors. That's a huge part of my personality. That's part of my belief system. So your sense of self is made up of 4 things. Your self-esteem, your self-worth, and your identity. So self-acceptance is being comfortable with your own company. It's being able to sit alone and being able to be content. And actually, it's craving that. It's wanting that over wanting to be around people. If you're constantly needing to be around other people, you're never going to find happiness. You have to learn to be happy with you. And the only way to do that is to embrace all parts of yourself, including the negative ones. That's another thing that people don't recognize, is that they're going to have to confront their own personal issues head on and be realistic about those issues. If you're the type of person that denies that you have any problems, you're going to have a hard life. You're probably never going to be happy because you can't take responsibility for your actions. And part of accept yourself is accepting the good and the bad and being rational about the issues that you have. Also having a positive attitude towards yourself, and also recognizing that you are a human being and not being hard on yourself. You need to recognize that everyone has problems. Everyone has to confront those issues if they ever be happy. A lot of people don't, but so your sense of self, collection of characteristics that define you. So something that I learned while doing my research for this, something that was really interesting to me, is how outside influences can affect your sense of self. Specifically, children who come from homes where they were abused, neglected, criticized heavily, homes where they were, their emotional needs were not met. Your sense of self does not develop as it should when you are being raised in a home without your basic needs met. If you were criticized, abused, it can affect how you feel about yourself. A lot of people come out of their home with their parents feeling unworthy, undeserving of love. They struggle with their identity. They have low self-esteem, low self-worth. And something that was interesting as well is that how they view their self. If you grew up in a home where you were neglected, criticized heavily, you can carry that over into your adult life and treat your partner the way that you were treated as a child. It's very common to have children coming from a home that's abusive that become abusers themselves. The lack of confidence, usually people, they'll have a lack of confidence with poor self-perception. If you struggle with low self-esteem and low self-worth, you have to start from the ground up. It starts with you. No one else can help you get through this. No one else can lift your self-worth. No man is going to be able to make you feel good. Honey, you have to do the work to make you feel good. Constantly jumping in and out of relationships is going to make things worse. It's going to lower your self-esteem. And you're going to have to start from the ground up. Low self-esteem makes you believe that you're not good. And it's not true. That's not true. You're more than good enough. People with low self-esteem tend to manifest into toxic people themselves. They get jealous, possessive, controlling, and there's a lack of trust in their relationships. So people who did not have their basic needs met as a child, who were abused, They tend to grow up and become abusers themselves, and you can see that in the relationships that they hold. Hurt people tend to people, and it stems from a lack of self-confidence, self-acceptance, a lack of not having a sense of self. And I want to be clear that self-acceptance is the only way to happiness. Sorry, I'm looking how to do it. So some ways that we can learn to accept ourselves is to stop ignoring our problems, stop ignoring what we're feeling on the inside. If we're struggling with regret from something, if we're struggling with self-hatred or dislike, you have to work on that. You have to go straight through it. You can't go around it. You can't go beside it. You can't run from it. You have to go straight through it. You have to confront that issue, whatever it may be, and you have to go straight through it. Meditating and learning to sit alone and think. You know, when I say meditate, I don't mean zone out to the fifth dimension or wherever they try to go when they meditate. But I simply mean being quiet, sitting in peace. There's a lot of people, one of them 10 years ago, I constantly had to be in chaos because that's what I was used to growing up. I didn't even know what peace and quiet was because I grew up in such a chaos home that toxic felt normal to me, you know, and it wasn't until I clean that I started to appreciate the peace and quiet and being able to be by myself. And now I prefer it. Now I don't want to be around people. Now I feel content with myself and being alone. And meditating, learning to sit alone without any outside interruption is where you have to start. You have to learn to lean on yourself. I think a lot of people keep any company that they can around them, just feel like they have somebody. And if you're doing that, I can promise you that those people are not going to have you when you need them. So meditate, sitting alone and just thinking. Part of becoming self-accepting is confronting your fears. Once again, if you have regret, you have remorse, if you have any kind of emotion that you have been stuffing down to the pit of your stomach and ignoring, you have to confront that head on. You talk about that with yourself is better than with no one. Absolutely ask yourself questions. You need to be asking yourself questions every single day. You can develop yourself and soul by just thinking and asking yourself questions. Work through the hard issues. Picture your ideal self. Setting, closing your eyes, picturing your ideal self. Picturing what you want your life to look like. That will help you come up with ways to make your life look that way. If you can visualize it, kind of manifesting it in a way, that means you're hoping for it. And the law of attraction, it just helps. You need to visualize and verbalize what you want out of life and who you want to be. It will help you get in there. Explore your passions. If you have an interest in something and you think that you would like to do it, like, I don't know, if you think that you want to get into painting, explore it. Do it. Don't let anything hold you back from exploring your passions. As a matter of fact, by exploring your passions, you're going to be able to identify yourself better. You're going to, also, that you're developing yourself, you know, like finding a new hobby. We'll get in more, we're going to talk more about cutting toxic people out of your life, but also this kind of relates to what we're going to talk about later. Finding a new hobby, maybe go, or if you're in recovery, maybe actually going to an NA meeting. These are all new ways that you can meet new people. And you need to be doing that so that you have good people on your side, help you become the person that you want to be. People that are just in your ear saying, yes, you can do it. You need that. A lot of people don't have that. Keeping a journal. Also, once again, any emotion that you're having, anger, pain, you need to confront it. And most people want, sorry. I can't read what I wrote, y'all. I can't read what I wrote. You hold pretty much all of the tools to heal in your toolbox already. You might not realize it, but you do. You're capable of healing. You're capable of being happy with yourself. You're capable of self-acceptance and figuring out who you are. I think a lot of us run from who we are at certain parts of our lives. I know I did in my 20s. I didn't want to be known as some country bumpkin from backwoods. I didn't want to admit to myself that my parents were uneducated, because that meant that I was uneducated. You know what I mean? Now I don't give a crap. Now I'm like, well, you know, it's kind of not my fault. It's kind of not my fault. And now I lean into my Southern roots. It's who I am. You know, there's no running from that. My accent says it all. So I lean into who I am now, and I used to run from it in my 20s. And I think a lot of it had to do with the social pressures of how I look to society. And that's another thing. Damn, stop caring what people think about you. It doesn't matter. It's not gonna matter. Doesn't matter. Your kids, your family, the people that most, your loved ones that actually love you, they don't care. They love you for you, and they don't care. And you shouldn't either. You can't let your past hold you back. You can't let your fear of the future hold you back. Accepting yourself is the only way to happiness. And it is hard work, but it is doable. And it's very gratifying to just ignore our personal issues, but we cannot do that. The only happiness is to address our issues and become comfortable resting in our own minds. Learning to be alone and resting peacefully alone is the only way to complete freedom. Learn how to settle into your mind. I think that I got burnt out on like relationship after relationship when I was living in Charlotte, and then I found out that I was dating a married man, and then I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Why am I involved in all of this? And I was burnt out on trying to let outside influences make me happy. I had money. I had a nice house out then. I just bought this nice truck. I had a great job. Why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? The reason I wasn't happy was because I was involved in that was destroying me emotionally, mentally, physically. I was my body to people that didn't respect me. You're not going to be ever happy when you are harming yourself, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally. If you're looking in the mirror and calling yourself a piece of crap, this is why you feel down. You can't do that. You can't treat yourself like that. And it's absolutely your responsibility to make yourself whole. And you have all of the tools in your toolbox. The first place you're going to need to start, though, is removing anyone and anything toxic out of your life. And that includes drugs, alcohol, people, places. Yeah. The opportunities are endless when it comes to toxic. Let me tell you, you know, I would like to say that I've never been toxic, but I know that I have, especially when I was in my 20s. Super toxic. I would like to think that I've made leaps and bounds of growth in the past 4 years, but also I've stayed single intentionally so that I don't want to get into a relationship and be pulling somebody down with me. And that's what you do when you don't have high self-esteem, when you don't have your sense of self grounded, when you don't know who you are, when you're still confused about the things that you want in life, maybe you're confused about your beliefs. When you get into a relationship, you're actually hindering that person because you're not grounded. You're in bits and pieces and shambles, and you don't know who you are, and you don't know what you want. And now you're dragging this person down with your toxic behavior because you don't feel confident. And now you're accusing him of cheating because you don't know how to trust people. Or maybe, there's so many different scenarios. But until you develop your sense of self, and you're fully accepting of yourself, and and like to be alone, you don't need to be dating. But also, toxic people can come into your life. I've dated people and they were the toxic one. I've been the toxic one. I've dated the toxic one. And it can make you physically ill. It really can. And this is not talked about enough, how it can affect a person's mental, physical well-being. I was on Reddit this morning reading toxic stories about family members, and there's children who grew up with toxic in the home. Their parents were not only abusive in childhood, but when they reach adult age, they're toxic now, and with the grandchildren. And I can't imagine how hard it would be to cut your own mother out of your life. But I'm here to tell you that if someone being toxic and it's causing you harm, and you feel like every time you go around them, you have a visceral reaction, like you're sick, you're weak, you don't feel good, you might need to think about cutting that person out of your life. And also, if it is a parent or a grandparent or maybe a great uncle or aunt, you need to think about the fact, if you do have kids, take how you feel and then times that by 10, because that's how that child is going to feel. Those kids can feel hostility in the home. They can tell when something is wrong. They can tell when people are toxic at a very early age. And you have to think about your children. And I'm specifically talking, example, there was a story that I read where a woman would allow her mother to watch her son on the weekends, but he has ADHD, and the mother would the grandmother would intentionally give this child things such as chocolate cake, candy bars, all of this stuff. I mean, for hours. She would just let him have an endless amount of sweets. And by the time the mother was picking the child up at 7 o'clock at night or whatever on Sunday, the child was so wired that he would not go to sleep Sunday night for school on Monday morning. The mother, had been to her mother dozens of times trying to work out this issue, trying to eliminate this problem, being like, Mom, this is a problem. He won't go to bed. Can you please stop giving him sugar hours before we show up? Please don't allow him to have Mountain Dew ever. The mother kept still allowing this child to do this and not have, and now this is a minor thing, but just imagine like something huge, like maybe, I don't know, something on a bigger scale. It could really cause a war between family. There was people saying in the comments that this mother needed to set boundaries with her own mother. Sometimes impossible. Sometimes that's impossible. And no one should ever make you feel guilty about setting boundaries, to let you know. But let's talk about, real quick, we're going to switch back over to that. Let's talk about how toxic people can make you feel. Toxic people can make you physically sick. Toxic relationships can cause chronic stress, which can lead to physical symptoms such as stomach pain, headaches, itchy skin. Can be a sign of stress in an unhealthy relationship. Some others that I've personally went through is not being able to eat or sleep, your hair falling out. If your hair is thinning, that can come from chronic stress. Adrenal fatigue syndrome. This can be caused by chronic stress of a toxic relationship. Symptoms include fatigue, weight gain, sleep problems, and brain fog. Now, I was in a relationship and went through this because the partner that I was with was he was unemotionally available, unemotionally available. And I knew that the whole relationship was wrong. And instead of leaving, I sank into a depression, blaming myself, letting myself, my self-worth slip away, okay? Feeling like, my self-esteem was really struggling at this time. Relationship did not help. And not only was I fatigued, I had no energy, I had no will to live. I didn't even want to wake up and go to bed every day. Like, I literally just wanted to die in my sleep. And it was because I was in a relationship that was toxic. I also gained almost 80 pounds in a year. And I was having extreme sleep problems. So stress and being in a relationship, mentally, when you're in there, you might lie to yourself and ignore the problem, but mentally you're saying, this relationship is over, this relationship is abusive, this relationship is not good. And when you're saying that to yourself, you have to get out of that relationship, whether it's with a boyfriend, whether it's with your own mother, whether it's with, a babysitter that works for you. You need to fire her. If you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling anxious, if you're, if seeing them causes you a visceral reaction and it upsets you immediately if you just see them. Physical symptoms, these can include dry skin, hair loss, loss of libido, PMS, infertility, estrogen dominance, lowered immunity, hypoglycemia, salt and sugar cravings, food and drug sensitivities, and heart palpitation. Relationships can also cause mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and mood disorders. Toxic people may also isolate their victims from friends and families, which can worsen the feelings of loneliness and social withdrawal. If you're dealing with someone who has hurt or threatened you, you need to avoid alone with them and create a plan to quickly leave. People who are exposed to toxic behavior are at a higher risk for developing stress-related physical health problems such as digestive problems, chronic fatigue. Cleaning an environment is not an easy task to do, because I've found that I started accepting myself when I got my self-esteem up, when I started to appreciate myself and love myself. I realized that toxicity just came from my throat. They come after you. I don't know what it is, but there's something about a toxic person that if they see that you're happy and that you're thriving, they're gonna try to mess that up. Don't give them but one chance, and you need to exile them out of your life and be done with them for good. If they have lied to you, they'll lie on you. If they've cheated on you, they're going to do it again. If they've stole from you, they can't be trusted. If you have somebody playing mental little mind games with you, you need to stop stooping and dropping to their level, playing these manipulative, toxic games, and you need to figure out how to get out of there. Stop returning text or phone calls. You do not owe anyone anything. This is your life. This is about you. You don't owe anyone anything. You need to learn to set boundaries. And I've had people tell me that, oh, I can't do that. That would make me feel so bad. No, you have to. Do you want to be happy, or do you want to be living in misery and chaos life? You're going to have to. You have to set boundaries. You cannot allow yourself to feel guilty about protecting yourself, because at the end of it is what you're doing. You're protecting yourself. You're getting the toxic out of your life. You're saying goodbye to the devil, okay? You have to know where to draw the line. And here's the thing. My advice would be, if you're dealing with someone who's toxic, you need to start by trying to talk to them about the situation. If you feel like their behavior is toxic and it's affecting you, if their actions are affecting your life, you need to try to talk to them, have a conversation with them. Say, listen, it's not okay when you slap me around. It's not okay when you go in my purse and steal money. It's not okay when you get snappy with me, one of our friends. You need to have these conversations. Here's the thing. If you try to have these conversations and they will not have these conversations, you need to leave. Because they're capable of having those conversations. They don't even recognize that there's a problem. They're used to the chaos. To them, it's normal. If you want to be happy, you're going to have to leave. If they're incapable of even discussing issues, discussing real life issues, you have got to, that is a surface level person who's probably got some narcissistic traits, who is never going to change their ways. And nothing you can say or do will change that behavior. If you have to have contact with this person, then you need to limit your time around toxic people. The Redditor that I was just telling you about, mother kept giving this kid sugar, Mountain Dew before bed. Redditor got to where she was not dropping her son off every weekend. She would drop him off on Fridays for a few hours, and then she would drop him off on Saturday for a few hours. And limited how much time her mother had access to her son. In doing that, she was ensuring that her son wasn't going to be up all night, because there was only so much Mountain Dew he can drink in a 2-hour period of time. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to think outside the box and limit your exposure to these people that you know without a doubt being toxic and trying to cause chaos in your life. But once again, dropping to their level, trying to negotiate, trying to argue, it's going to get nowhere. If they're not able to take responsibility for their actions, you need to recognize that they're never gonna be able to. And you have to get out of that situation. I gotta show y'all something real quick. So, there's a doctor that did this demonstration with a fish. I didn't even think about showing you guys that. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I can't find it, but so pretty much she takes a fish and she puts it in, oh, here it is. I found it. Let me get my Chromebook up. This is your environment. This is perfect.
Don't make this mistake when you're working on your own happiness. Imagine this is you, and this is your life. But like most people's lives, there are problems that can make it toxic. If a fish is living in a toxic environment, eventually it gets sick. So you take her out of the dirty water, put her in a new tank for a while. Kind of like how you take a break, you go on holiday for a few weeks into a new environment, and it helps. Everything gets better and feels great for a while, until you return and go right back to that toxic situation again. And it doesn't matter how clean the water was on your break or how refreshed you feel, eventually you will get sick again. If you want to live in the long term, you have to focus on cleaning up the environment that is affecting you every day. I'm a psychologist, follow for more.
So as you see, she takes the fish, she takes it and she puts problems in its life, the dye, into the tank. Then she takes the fish out of the tank, which they're calling toxic, and she puts him in a whole new environment into clean water. And she says, imagine this is him taking a holiday. He's going on break. Everything's good. He feels refreshed and amazing. And then he returns to his original environment that's polluted. And eventually it's going to make you sick. And it will. And other people's actions can affect your life. It happens every day. And the moment that you need to exile them out of your life is when you recognize that their actions are impacting your life and they don't care. It's a thing for them to make a conscious effort to treat you better, to be better. It's a whole different thing if they cannot even acknowledge how it's toxic, how the relationship is failing, you know? Regardless if it's family, friend, whatever, you have to get away from that person. Otherwise, you're going to be suffering. And you're going to be sick, and you're going to be stressed, and things are not going to get better. They're going to continue to get worse. And if you were ever happy, can I just say that you are a content person with high self-esteem and things are going great in life, and then you get into a relationship that's toxic and abusive. That can ruin you. That can ruin you. And it can take years to get back on track. So you have to be careful who you allow in your circle and who you allow to have access to you. Not everyone deserves that. So one of the key signs that you're dealing with a toxic environment is that you go around someone and you feel emotionally, physically, mentally drained after you're done being around them. Say you have a cousin that likes to come over and you guys like to watch movies together, but they talk the entire movie and they call you names and they're picky and disrespectful when they come to your house. And if you feel physically drained when they left, if you feel like they took all of your energy and you were just wiped out emotionally, you might need to cut that person out of your life. I'm not giving a great example. I'm trying, like for me, when I worked at the winery, and my boss would be manipulating me, trying to be the devil on my shoulder, telling me to fornicate with people that didn't even know. Every time I would go to work and get off, it wasn't just about the work. It was mentally and emotionally, I felt like this woman had took a piece of my soul because of the way that she would treat me. And I knew that it was wrong. But I stayed because I needed to pay my bills. And that's not okay. And nobody deserves to feel like they're the reason for all the problems. There's a lot of people in like family relationships are like the black sheep, and it's like everybody looks down on you and you're the one with all the problem stuff. You should never be made to feel that way, ever. If your family is treating you that way and they won't let you develop, you might need to take a break from them. You might need to stop listening to all the outside influences. Outside influences actually have a huge part in who we are. From the time that we are born in our own family, that makes us who we are. The outside influences of our family makes us who we are. And that's how we develop our sense of self I'm sorry, I got something in my eye. What the heck? I felt it. Sorry. Hold on one second. What the world? I feel it. I see it. Sorry. Where'd it go? So, cleaning up your environment, you have to remove anyone in your life that is hurting you, harming you, mentally abusing you, treating you like crap when you're around them. You're never going to be happy if you're allowing people to disrespect you and walk all over you like that. Does your company drain you? When you're done hanging out with your friends and families, do you feel like you need a hard reset because emotionally they just took it out of you just being around them? And if you're in a relationship and you feel like you're being abused, you probably are. It's an intuition. You have to trust your gut and you have to trust yourself. You have to set hard boundaries. You got to set boundaries with people. If you have people that you hang around with and they don't respect you, they don't respect your opinion, they talk down to you or belittle you, that's not okay. That's not your friends. You have to find positive people. And here's the thing about that. It might feel boring. It might feel boring trying to get to know yourself and develop yourself, but that's because you're used to chaos. You're used to the craziness. You're used to there always being a crisis and some drama going on. It's going to feel kind of boring trying to develop yourself and trying to get away from toxic, but there's so much peace on the other end of the tunnel, I'm telling you. I'm grateful that I got clean and focused on me, because I'm the happiest I've ever been, and I am so poor, okay? Also, once you cut toxic people out of your life, or you start setting boundaries, or you start limiting how much time they have access to you, don't fall for the old tricks. You know, don't fall right back into this pattern of behavior and the same tricks, because toxic people will pull you into their crisis. You can't allow that. You can't, you know, if you're one that calls you like every other day and they're like self-diagnosing, they're dying, you know, I've had friends like that. That's why I say that, because I used to have one friend that was sick every day. Every day she had a new illness, and she would call me crying and da-da-da. Here's the thing. She weighed 250 pounds at 4 foot tall. Okay, maybe 5'5". All she did was eat fast food, sit in her house, not go get no sunshine. Never worked out, okay? That's why she was sick. Do you think that she will ever acknowledge that that's why she's unhappy? Nope. And until she recognizes that her own actions have led to her looking and feeling and having health issues, she's never going to be able to be completely happy. She has to confront her issues, which is gluttonous behavior, leading to obesity, leading to depression, anxiety, all of these things. The root cause is her eating habits. But I highly doubt that she will ever confront those issues. And in order to be happy, you have to confront all of your issues. Like for me specifically, I'm a condescending bitch. Okay, I have to confront that and learn how to not talk to people condescendingly. You know what I mean? And I'm working on that. But also, I have an anger problem, a severe anger problem, and it stems from the injustices of the world. Like, I don't understand how the cops can know that things are wrong, but they do nothing about it. It really makes no sense to me. So I have a huge anger problem. Confronting those issues and thinking and talking to myself logical about them will help my self-esteem and my confidence, and hopefully help the problem that I'm trying to fix, you know. But you have to do that by yourself. Therapy helps, absolutely, absolutely. But learning to be at peace with yourself and learning to be at rest with yourself is something that you have to do on your own. You have to get comfortable being alone. And matter of fact, you got to crave it. You got to crave being alone over being with other people. Yeah, it's great to hang out with you, da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, you have to be content with you. And the way to do that is to learn to be alone. Also, I wanted to say that you should never be comparing yourself to anyone else. Ever. It's not fair. It's not right, because everyone else didn't grow up the way that you grew up. Everyone else does not have the background that you have. You know, we are all raised differently. We all have different experiences that we experience growing up. And it's not doing yourself justice to compare yourself to someone else that you see out in society. The only person that you should ever be comparing yourself to is you. Also, never attach yourself to, you know, certain companies, certain businesses, employers. Don't attach yourself to places. Don't attach yourself to people. Only attach yourself you only should be attaching yourself to your purpose in life and your mission in life, to you. You only should attach yourself to you. Don't get fixated on this guy over here. Don't get fixated on this girl over here. The only person that you should be fixated on is you. going back to, if you feel like you're being abused, you probably are. If you feel like you're being manipulated, you probably are. If you're constantly confused by another person's behavior, that might be a red flag for toxic. You might need to sit down and talk to that person and get some clarification on why there's, why you're confused. And once again, if a person is incapable, they're not capable of discussing why they're inconsistent, you need to be running for the hills. That is not a person that is living in reality if they can't have a serious conversation. I've met so many people that are out here looking to jump into relationships and they can't even have a conversation. Make it make sense. You want a girlfriend, but you can't even have a conversation. Stop lowering your standards. The bare minimum is not asking too much. Respectful, loyal, honest, a conversation. Stop lowering your standards because your self-esteem is low. You need to work on learning to become whole with yourself, learning how to set in silence and peace. And I'm saying every day you got to go home at 7 o'clock and lock yourself in the room and sit there and stare at the wall. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying take a bubble bath. I don't know, have a glass of wine, take a bubble bath, and, journal, or go for a walk by yourself. Me personally, I like to wake up early in the morning. I like a cup of coffee. I like my nicotine, and I want to sit there and look at the news for an hour. That's my favorite thing to do by myself, is look at what is going on in the world and take some time for me. There comes a point where you prefer that over actually being around company. And you should. That is maturing, in my opinion. And being able to accept yourself, your standards, it might feel like you're asking too much from a person. But what it is that you don't want to disrupt your peace and quiet. Not willing to take the risk at letting in toxicity because you've already been down that road. You're healing, you're accepting of yourself now, and you don't want to take the chance at letting anybody else back in and screwing up everything you've worked for. And you've got to protect yourself at the end of the day. And more often than not, people have their own intentions, and this is why it's important to have serious conversations, because most of the time, if you're not, your intentions and their intentions are not going to meet up, and it's going to be toxic. So it's important to have serious conversations about with the people that you're allowing into your life. If they're incapable of doing that, you probably need to get away from them. Also, another thing that can lead to happiness, a lot of people are not going to like this, but diet and exercise. Listen, when I weighed 200 pounds and I was in a toxic relationship and I was dating somebody who was emotionally unavailable and he was a man child, and I was drinking and I was eating DoorDash and I was gaining weight and I was miserable, okay? I was also eating like crap, eating fast food, ordering DoorDash 2 times a day. And when I moved to Florida, I changed my diet. I changed my environment. I changed my diet. I cut out everybody out of my life. This was 2 years ago, and that's really when I started focusing on me. It was probably 2 years ago. I got clean 4 years ago, but the first year and a half of my recovery, I was in a relationship that I should have never been in. So after getting out of that relationship, I moved to Florida just to get away from this man, because I couldn't stop going back to him. So ain't that sad? Have to move 3 states away because you have no fucking self-control. So I moved to Florida and I changed my diet. That small change, just focusing on trying to eat more fruits and vegetables, hummus and pita chips, and just trying to make little changes, they all added up to a bigger picture. And I was able to lose, over 70 pounds. I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel better mentally than I've ever felt. And, at the end of the day, I don't have to worry at night if anybody stabbed my back. Because the people that I have in my life now, I know that they would never. They've never lied to me. They've never screwed me over. They don't misguide me. They don't give me horrible advice hoping that I'll take it so that I'll fail. Once again, somebody has done something to you once, they're going to do it again. Here's the thing. A person's character, you should never question their character. You need to know from the start that this person is trustworthy, that they're honest, and that they have your best interest at heart when dealing with you. If you can't put 2 and 2 together, you need to just not even have that person in your life. Stop allowing people in your life that don't even like themselves. If they don't respect themselves, they're not going to respect you. Stop allowing people, unfortunately, I'm not trying to be mean, but stop allowing worthless people to have access to you. You are worth so much more than that. And it's your responsibility to make sure that they're not toxic. And if they've lied to you once, they're going to do it again. If they've stabbed you in the back, they're going to do it again. You got to cut them out. You got to get away. And if it's family, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry, but you have to limit how much access they are having to you and when they are having access to you. And you have to set firm, hard boundaries. Firm boundaries. And that's another thing. If anybody has a problem with you setting a boundary, you need to tell them to hit the highway. That's not somebody that has your best interest at heart. If they have a problem with a basic boundary, they need to bounce. Yeah. Point blank, period. Boundaries are so important. And boundaries with toxic people are damn near impossible. So if you're trying to set boundaries with somebody and they're not accepting it, you need to accept that ain't a friend. And it's hard, I understand. You need to limit the contact or go no contact. And sometimes you're going to have to do that a lot in life. And it might hurt you to say goodbye to people. As me, I've walked away from a lot of people because of the toxic behavior. And also because of my own toxic behavior. That last relationship, I'm like, why am I like this? Why do I say hurtful things? Why do I try to be so blunt that it's hurtful? Why am I like this? And really at the end of it was my self-esteem was low. I was lacking. I was not happy with myself. I didn't feel worthy of the relationship, but it also had a lot to do with how I was being treated in that relationship. Absolutely. But here's the thing. If I would have been whole to start with, that relationship would have never happened. If I would have had the esteem and the sense of identity in myself, if I would have knew who I was, that relationship would have never happened. I think that if you're not the type of person, if you're the type of person that constantly needs other people's validation, that is a telltale sign that your self-esteem is lacking, your self-worth. At no point in time should anyone else's opinion of you matter to you ever in life. It doesn't matter what the neighbor thinks. It doesn't matter what Susie thinks. It doesn't matter what else thinks. None of that matters. Stop caring what people think about you. That in itself is freeing. It's very freeing. Stop caring what others think about you. You need to be confident with yourself. Unless you're a crappy person, then you don't deserve to be. But you know what I mean? If you're doing the right things and you're putting in the hard work and you're having hard conversations with yourself and you're cutting the toxic people out of your life, if you're cleaning up your environment, you need to recognize that not everybody deserves to be in your life. And a lot of people that you're going to come in contact with are going to be bad people looking at their shot to mess up your happiness. That's another thing that I've noticed is that there's so many people that their self-esteem and their self-worth is so low that when they meet a person that loves themselves, they think that it's arrogance or they're being egotistical or, and that's not the case. Confident people, there's a thin line between confident and being boastful and arrogant, no doubt. But I've noticed that a lot of people who struggle with self-worth and low self-esteem, they struggle being in contact with people who are happy with themselves. They take it the wrong way. Y'all, my eye. I don't know what is in my eye. It's been aggravating me. I want a warm coffee with like a donut. At the end of the day, like I said, if you try to have a conversation with somebody to say, hey, this affects me. When you do this, it causes me to get petty, and then both of us are being toxic. Like, that's rational. Like, say you're dating somebody and y'all have a tendency to argue and scream and call each other names. The best plan of action would be to go to that person and say, hey, I've really been thinking about a relationship, and it's not really healthy. The way that we scream at each other, the way that I take things personal, the way that you take things personal, we need to fix this. I want us to work. I want us to be whole, but we need to work on this relationship. And fun fact, if you're in a relationship, you're supposed to be working on that relationship. Relationships don't just come easy, cheap, and free, honey. It's hard work. Marriages that have lasted for 40, 50 years, it's hard work. And you need to actively be an active participant in making that relationship a good relationship. But going to your partner and saying, hey, we kind of fight. We need to fix this. I don't want us to be like this. I don't want us to be like this in front of our children. Then our children are going to grow up and treat their partner like this. They absolutely will. And if they're not accepting of that, if they're incapable of saying, you know what, you're right, then it might be time to leave that relationship, because that's not a person who is capable of taking responsibility for their actions. That's not a person that's capable of even recognizing that there's a problem. If you can't recognize that there's a problem, you can't begin to fix it. And I think a lot of us stay in toxic relationships because we think that we won't find anybody better. I'm here to tell you that if you make a conscious effort to start loving yourself, you'll find somebody better someday. You will. There's plenty of fish in the sea, baby. Plenty of fish. But it starts with you. Happiness starts with self-acceptance. It starts with your self-esteem, with wanting to do better. And it starts with you. At the end of the day, you're the captain of your ship. You've got to protect yourself. And, outside influences can absolutely negatively impact yourself, your sense of self, your identity. It has me, my parents, the abusive relationships that I saw growing up seemed normal to me until 4 years ago. Now I recognize that it's not only toxic, but dangerous. And that's why I'm staying single. That's why I'm staying single, because I'm working on me. And all I know is the past 18 months have been the happiest time of my life, even though I've went through more hardships than I have ever been through financially. So that says a lot about how learning to be alone and craving to be alone. Like, y'all know, I am trying to get in the bed at like 6 o'clock at night and crawl up in my bed. Like, that's all I want to be. Is like, that's the only place I want to be. There I want to be is by myself, reading something in my bed. And you need it to a place where you want to do that. You want to be alone. Being around people is too much. It's draining your energy. It's too much going on. When you can get to a point that you need to be alone, that is when the healing journey and the happiness starts, truly. But you have to get comfortable alone, by yourself, in peace and quiet. And toxic relationships, once again, if they're not accepting to the fact that it's toxic and they can't admit that it's toxic, you need to exile them. It's never going to get better. If you're not making a conscious effort to fix something that is broken, it's never going to get fixed. It's going to stay broken. And toxicity is kind of like the domino, Once a little bit of toxic gets in there, before you know it, it's just toxic, toxic, toxic. There's all kinds of boundaries being broken and, things being said. And, you can't live in peace and happiness when your life is in complete chaos and you don't know what tomorrow brings in your relationship, or if it's a family situation, you know, I've heard of, y'all remember the Chris Watts case when Shanann Ann, she sent her baby girls over to, I think it was Chris's house, and Chris's mother had the children around peanuts, and the children were allergic to peanuts, and it's a toxic family situation, and that ain't nothing to play with. Children that are allergic to tree nuts, okay, it can kill them. It can kill them. But here's this toxic mother-in-law introducing peanuts to her grandchildren to piss the bride-in-law, daughter-in-law off, Shanann. So, you know, I've heard of so many situations. That's toxic, though, and that's not only toxic, that's dangerous. But I'm not giving good examples today, y'all. Sorry, this weather has got me kind of like out of it today, you know. I've been out of it for like honestly. But you absolutely have to distance yourself from toxic. If you don't, it's going to start messing up your life. It's going to affect you mentally, physically. Your soul is going to be drained. Speaking of toxic, I've had 4 women come out from the restaurant and text me. I really wasn't expecting that many people, but it's to the point to where I've got to focus on my own case first, and then I can help them. I can't be distracted. You know what I mean? I've got to focus on my own situation, my own case, and then when I'm done there, we can focus on trying to help other people. Right now, I'm wondering how much of it is lies and how much is it, you know, how much of it is it trying to distract me? I think that it's kind of like, I'm kind of surprised at myself that I even said that I would do that day because of the fact that those girls tried to bully me, you know, and I try to look at it from I try to look at it from the perspective of people that are happy with themselves, that have high self-esteem. They don't behave that way. And I try to be understanding, but at the end of the day, I've never treated somebody like these girls treated me, you know, so I can't really put myself in their shoes, because even when I did struggle with low self-esteem, I never treated anybody like that. I never tried to bully anybody in my freaking life. So, I don't know. I'm going to handle my case first, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But until I handle my case and I figure out what is going on, I don't feel comfortable even talking to those girls, because I don't want any inside out influence messing with my case. You know what I mean? Ain't it sad that I have to protect myself that way and just ignore people because they're not to be trusted? That's how you become happy. 100%. Don't even allow them the time to fuck up your day. I mean, these girls bullied me while I was there. So it's not as easy as just talking to them for me. But I recognize that it's because they're not happy with themselves. I'm not stupid. You know, if you're in school and you go to school and there's someone there always, you know, nitpicking at you and picking on your hair and calling you names and pointing out your failures or maybe some of your faults, it's because they're not happy with themselves, honey. It has nothing to do with you. It might be because you're an easy target, but other than that, it has nothing to do with you. You know, bullies bully because they're not happy with themselves. They usually try to pick someone that they assume is an easy target. My hair's wet still. It's looking good though. I didn't want to put any heat on it. I'm just trying to look like the 70s. It reminds me of my mom. I have pictures of her in the 70s, like, or the 80s like this. I hope everybody is doing good today. I am actually about to run. I was seeing if there was any of my regular... Hey, Emily! I was looking to see who I missed. Yeah, so you have to start by learning to be by yourself. First of all, if you're already in a toxic environment, you need to leave that environment. You have to rid your life of all of the people that are stressing you out, bringing you down, abusing you, mistreating you. You have to get rid of them. And then you have to learn to be by yourself and actually want to be by yourself. You have to learn to appreciate yourself by being alone. And, you know, if that's hard for you, because it used to be hard for me, I felt like I would get so bored when I was by myself. Like, what am I going to do? I'm just here. Now it's the complete opposite. It's like, damn, I got like 15 things I could do if I could just get some alone time. You know what I mean? Like, I can read, I can do schoolwork, I can stuff on the computer as far as school. There's always something that I can do, and I would rather be doing that than be around anyone having them take my time. It's important for you to clean up your environment. You're dealing with toxicity, because it's never going to get better. It's only going to get worse. If they're already disrespecting you, calling you names, putting you down, it'll only be a matter of time slapping you around. Happiness starts within, and it starts with you. I hope y'all have a good afternoon. I have job interviews. I've already had 2 this morning, wasting my time. Probably how it's going to be. My prediction is that I'll never get hired again. That's what it's looking like. We're going on 500 person interviews. 500. And over 4,000 job applications. But it's all part of a bigger picture that we're going to talk about one day. I know exactly why they're not hiring me. It was part of a plan. So, yeah. Just be careful out there. I hope y'all have a good afternoon. I've got something in my eye. It's driving me crazy. I'm definitely going to get me something because I'm still hungry, even though I ate half of those grits. I'm going to eat the rest of those grits and then go get some food. I've got to be across town by 4 o'clock, so that's where I'm going now. Y'all have a good afternoon. We'll talk later. Maybe we'll do a get ready for bed with me. I had my bed up this morning. It looks so nice back there. I slept in a little bit. I didn't get up at 3. I slept in till like 6. That's sleeping in for me. Thank you, Tabby. I hope y'all have a great afternoon and y'all be safe out there. Bye, y'all.